then obviously we're just pushing forward and trying to continue to get better on and off the court. And just looking forward to getting back to work and winning a national championship next year.
What's the prevailing emotion right now? Are you guys angry? Are you disappointed? And how can that fuel you during the off season?
Embarrassed, disappointed in ourselves for not playing UConn basketball. Embarrassed for our alumni and, our fans having to watch us play like that. But just going off of what Paige said, we have to take this when we get back in the gym, just learn from it and do what we need to do, when we get back and just really refocus as individuals and as a collective. We did accomplish a lot. We made tremendous strides, huge strides, but at the end of the day, this is what we were working towards. Everything was for the main goal of coming back with a national championship. So to leave empty-handed is, I can't even describe the feeling, but it's difficult.
Okay.
So guys, today we're going to be doing a different type of video. I have two players up on the screen right now for a reason. I could do the highlights, I could do the reactions, I could, do the videos that I did before these semifinals, but I think that there is something more to be talked about here when it comes to the women's game as a whole and what this season, means for the future of the game in many ways, and what went well this season, what didn't go so well this season. And I have two players right now on the screen who both lost in their semifinal games. And the reason I have these two players on the screen right now is because I want to talk a little bit about certain things such as marketing, certain things such as stars, superstars, brands, names, certain things that understandably aren't in a lot of people's minds when they watch games, when you've been following the women's game for years, like a lot of people have, right? You don't care about, we already have had stars, we already have had big names, we already have had legends, we already have had people who have elevated the game, and that's completely true, and that has happened. That's factual, that is true. I was looking at some of the comments, after both games, talking down on certain players, talking about how they have been overhyped, or how, we got tired of hearing about the same teams, the same players, the same coaches even, in both cases. And to me, what that is showing is people don't understand that they shouldn't have covered Paige Bueckers any less than they did this season. The reason why I'm making this video is because people fail to understand that superstars will be the ones who will change how women's basketball is perceived. It's not parity, it's not equal coverage, it's not going to be based on numbers, it's not going to be based on wins. Players who have that it factor, whether you like them or don't like them, whether you think they're not as good as people are saying, or you agree that they're as good. The fact is, the numbers show that this is what's going to grow the game. I had already made my preference very clear with the reactions. I wanted UConn to be in the final, I wanted South Carolina to be in the final, I wanted Paige to be in the final, I wanted Zia Cook to be in the final. I did not pick those players and those teams just, I like the teams, I like their history. I didn't grow up a UConn fan. I didn't grow up a South Carolina fan. I became a Paige Bueckers fan. I became a Zia Cook fan. I watched UConn and South Carolina to watch Paige and Zia. The fact that those players and their teams lost in the semifinals, it happens. Like, you play against very, very good teams, you play against very, very good players, you win some, you lose some. That does not diminish players like theirs' value to the sport, that does not diminish skill set that they bring, which attracts casual women's basketball fan. And people are often so quick to tear down players who get the attention, not realizing that those are the players that are going to make the game what you guys want the game to be. Historically, it has been proven stars make sports, stars make leagues, especially in the US. You can take any sport you want. You can take boxing, it was Muhammad Ali, whether people liked him or didn't. Tennis, Serena Williams. In the States, Serena Williams drives tennis marketing. Outlets like ESPN, year long, they will not cover tennis once until Serena Williams is playing. Is that fair to tennis players who have been playing better than Serena these past few years? No. Is it what drives the numbers? Is it what gets people to tune in and watch tennis in the US specifically? Yes. The casual fans that the sport needs tune in to watch Serena play. Golf, Tiger Woods. Basketball, LeBron James. Go look up the numbers of the NBA finals when LeBron is playing in the final, when LeBron is not playing in the final. Stars make sports. Star power brings in the people. To bring it full circle to this NCAA tournament, no disrespect to Stanford or Arizona, women's basketball took a major hit with both UConn and South Carolina losing in the semifinals. Again, I don't want to disrespect Stanford fans. You have a great team. Arizona, Aari McDonald is an amazing player. That does not change the fact. None of the players on these rosters, despite how good Aari McDonald is, right? This is her senior year in college. She has not generated 1/4 of the numbers that a Paige generated. I'm talking about viewership, and I'm going to go a little bit deeper on the numbers in a little bit here, but I'm talking about growing the sport right now. It's not about who you think deserves to win, who you think deserves to win the Player of the Year award, who you think should get the most coverage, who you think is the better player, who you think will have the better career, who you think is the nicest person, who you think you can, whatever you think, numbers and viewership is what matters if you want to grow women's basketball. So let's go at the numbers. What can we see here? Number 2, UConn's OT win over number 1, South Carolina, sets FS1 record viewership. 461,000 live viewers watched as freshman Paige Bueckers scored 31 points to lead number 2 UConn to an overtime win over number 1 South Carolina on Monday. The game ranks as the most watched women's college basketball game in FS1 history. Paige by that point had been in college basketball for some months. She came straight out of high school. The most watched women's college basketball game in FS1 history. Paige came into college probably with a bigger social media following than 99% of collegiate athletes. She came into that from high school. That is star power. What college did is called marketing. It's what you want to do to grow the game. More numbers. 1.70 million viewers. Monday's UConn Baylor Women's NCAA Tournament averaged 1.7 million viewers on ESPN, the largest audience in a decade for any game of the tournament prior to the Women's Final Four. The largest audience in a decade. A decade. That's with Paige being in college for barely a year. Viewership increased 32% from UConn's previous Elite 8 appearance in 2019. The strong numbers came despite direct competition from the men's Elite 8 on CBS. The competing Oregon State-Houston game averaged 5.92 million. In previous years, the women's Elite 8 avoided direct competition with the men's game. This is star power. Whether you like a player, whether you're a fan whether you hate them, whether you think they're good enough, whether you think they're overhyped, whether you think they've been put up on a pedestal that they shouldn't be. The numbers speak for themselves. More numbers. Did you know that UConn's freshman Paige Bueckers has the most followers out of any, that includes men, out of any NCAA athlete? She's closing in on 1 million followers, right? Let's see what some WNBA champions and superstars have in terms of following. Let's take a look. Breanna Stewart, 2-time WNBA champion, WNBA MVP, WNBA Finals MVP, the reigning WNBA champion, arguably the best player in the league right now. It's not even close. It's not close. It's not close. Let's go a little bit bigger right now. Let's go to a more recognizable name maybe. Let's see what Sue Bird has. See, I'm not here to fool around. I'm here to show you some numbers so that you can understand what marketing is and why it's done and why certain players are going to be promoted more than others. You can agree or disagree. If you want the game to grow, this is the way to do it. Parity is not the way to do it. Nobody's going to tune in, no casual fan is going to tune in when there are no standout specific names. It just won't happen. It won't happen for the men. Men's basketball has a bigger established following than women's basketball, but still, when star players aren't competing, the viewership is lower. It's just how things work, and people fail to understand it, and people get upset and say, I can't understand why they're pushing this freshman, why they're pushing Paige, why are they doing it? Is it because she's at UConn? No, it's not because Paige is at UConn. Paige could have gone to Iowa, and they would be pushing Paige the way they have been. It's not because it's UConn, it's because it's Paige. It's because she has the following that she has, it's because she brings the numbers, she does numbers, she brings viewers, she sells tickets. You're talking about a female player who has multiple high school videos with over 1 million, 2 million views. That doesn't happen, that rarely happens. And that's the benefit of this new generation. They are able to build a following before they even make it to the pros, before they even make it even to college. And that's how the game will grow. Those are the players that will bring in the views. So you see, Sue Bird doesn't even have 600,000 followers. That's Sue Bird. She's been in the league. She's a 4-time champion. She is on every podcast, ESPN related. You know, all the smoke. She's been everywhere. This very season that passed, she won the championship. She has 4 championships. Not Paige's numbers. This is Asa Wilson. That's the reigning WNBA most valuable player. She made the WNBA finals. She lost to Sue Bird and Breanna Stewart in their final. Notice how she's not even close to Paige's numbers. This is Diana Taurassi, argued by many to be the greatest female basketball player of all time. Arguably. You could argue many people historically in the WNBA, there has never been a definitive GOAT. By the way, there are so many names that you could argue and you have many fair points for all of them. Right now, a lot of people refer to Diana as the GOAT, you know, like the female Kobe, whatever you want to call her. Not even 200,000 followers. In case you forgot how many Paige had, she's nearing 800,000 followers. Anybody who follows the WNBA, or even if you don't follow, the funny thing, even if you don't follow women's basketball, you've heard of Candance Parker if you just follow basketball. She is on the TNT show. She does a lot of pre-game, post-game analysis. She was, along with Maya Moore, the star in college when she was playing. Candance Parker is the most recognizable, again, understand the words that I'm using, recognizable female basketball player ever. That has a lot to do with marketing. She's been a champion once. We're talking about players like Diana Taurassi who have won the championship 3 times. We're talking about Sue Bird has won it 4 times. We're talking about Maya Moore has won it 4 times. We're talking about even Breanna Stewart, the last 3 seasons, she won it 2 times. But Candance Parker has marketed herself and has been marketed way better. You have to have the hype that people generate for you, but you have to be good in order for people, when they tune in, they stay and follow your career and want to watch. And Candance Parker was that, and the numbers do show that. You can see out of all the players that I pulled up, some of the greats, she has the most followers. No matter how much you say, oh, social media followers don't really matter for much, they 100% do. Today, they 100% do. This is a player's reach. If Candance Parker posts something, this is how many people she's going to reach. If Diana Taurassi posts something, she's going to reach less than 200,000 people. Guess which player is promoted on bigger platforms? It's Candance Parker. She's won one championship. Diana Taurassi has won multiple championships. It's still Candance Parker. She will generate more viewers. She will generate more hype. It doesn't have to do with fairness. It doesn't have to do with any of that. Sometimes, if you have the it factor, that's all you need. I guarantee you, when the Chicago Sky play next season, they're going to have some of the highest numbers they've had, because Candance Parker will play for them now. And people know Candance Parker, people want to watch Candance Parker, people like following her, no matter what she does, even if it's on TNT talking about basketball, if she's playing, if she's doing a podcast, if she's... The numbers reflect that. That's a star. Probably the WNBA's bigger star right now. With all that being said, she has less followers than Paige does. It's not by a lot, but they are less. So let's do one more. Let's go Maya Moore. Maya Moore has won the WNBA title multiple times. Candance Parker has won it once. Paige Bueckers is a year out of high school. It's not about what you think, and that's not a bad thing. It's just the evolution of the game. It's just the evolution of generations. Social media followings matter. The numbers people generate is reflected on the type of reach they have on these platforms. And this brings me to this. People have been waiting for Paige and Uconn to lose. What happens is that people are upset when the media is propelling that player with the it factor, which for whatever reason they failed to see. This is not by luck, this is not random. Paige was propelled over other players because she has that it star power. The numbers throughout the games have increased and are reflecting that. The game itself is benefiting from that. No matter if Paige is playing or not, numbers have been up this NCAA tournament across the board. A lot of that has been the casual fan who will tune in because they heard maybe of a Paige Bueckers, but will stay and watch the rest of the teams and find other players that they really enjoy watching. But this is what happens when a player loses, when that player that has been promoted to the heights that Paige has throughout the season, people have been waiting around the corner to jump on that player's throats. I guess the reason why I want to make this video is maybe help some of those people understand they are hating on growth. If Paige Bueckers fails, and what does fails means? She does not have a successful college career, like a lot of people are hoping she doesn't. They've been hoping Paige fails. So let me tell you something, women's basketball fan. If Paige fails, women's basketball has missed probably their biggest chance to grow the game. If that sentence makes you upset, it's not my fault, it's not Uconn's fault, it's not Paige's fault, it's not the media's fault, cause numbers, they are telling you something. People should be hoping that Paige and Uconn succeed. If you are a women's basketball fan, if you want women's basketball to grow, to get bigger in the next 5 to 10 years, hoping for Paige to fail is hoping for the women's game to fail. If you don't care about the game growing, if you're like, I like how the game is now, I like how female players are treated now, you saw the footage, you saw the team that they had, you saw the food that they got. If you're okay with how the women's game is treated, if you're okay with women's players being disrespected every time they're mentioned, if you're okay with revenue being always talked about, you don't bring enough viewers, you don't bring enough money. Thus, stop complaining about how you're being treated. If you're okay with that, then sure, go ahead, root against Paige. Oh, she's overrated. Oh, why are they covering her so much? Like, yes, finally she lost. Like this comment here. Thank you, Coach Adia Barnes and the Arizona women's team on eliminating UConn. ESPN's constant ass-kissing of Paige was annoying and nauseating. UConn, good riddance, right? So this is a person who is okay, I guess, with the women's game being where it is now. Staying there for future years. It wasn't by chance that I was constantly saying that I want UConn to make the final. And I'm not talking about I support UConn. It's not even about I support Paige specifically. Any player who has this ability to grow the game, I might hate that player for whatever personal reason, which I always find weird when people hate players, but that's besides the point, like, right? Brittany Griner. When Brittany was in college, the hype around Brittany at that time was the same hype that Paige has been getting, except the difference is, again, social media wasn't as big. The hype around Brittany in college was insane. For that time, it was insane. Do you remember when people were saying that she should go get drafted in the NBA instead of the WNBA? Brittany was probably one of the biggest chances women's basketball had to grow exponentially. People were rooting for her to fail, much like they've been rooting for Paige to fail. Every little misstep, every little L, quote unquote L, that she had, people played it up, and they kept doing it, they kept doing it, they kept doing it. Brittany ended up having an amazing career, but the game did not benefit the way that it should have from her. There have been a lot of players who people, and when I say people, I'm talking about the people in WNBA's marketing department, have done a horrible job with promoting, advertising, giving them the sign that they might deserve. So when they're finally getting something right, and it's working, the numbers are showing that it's working. There are comments under every Paige Bueckers video that say, look at this comment, look at the likes that they get. I'm a new subscriber because it's Paige Bueckers. She brought me to Hopkins, that's high school. Then UConn, that's college women's hoops, and NCAA women's basketball. That's a new viewer that you didn't have before, that was brought into NCAA women's basketball because of Paige. It's just relaxing and enjoyable watching her play, a very talented and intelligent freshman. So I'm going to read you some more comments. She's got that it. What I say, she got that it. You can't define it, but you know it when you see it. Everyone likes to rip on women's basketball, but someone like Paige and Sabrina can put women's basketball on the map like Tiger did with golf and Serena did with women's tennis. Do you see a pattern? Do you see that it's not just hype? It's reality. The numbers show that it's reality. People tune in.
Paige Bueckers. Now, listen, I'm watching this young lady. I call her the Steph Curry of college basketball. She's special, Sue. She's special to me. How about you?
Do you understand how big it is, having probably the biggest name in not only ESPN but American journalism around sports? Talk about a female basketball player, freshman at that, the way Stephen A did in this clip you just saw, and did throughout the few days leading up to the Arizona UConn game. People who had never watched women's basketball in their lives listened to what Stephen A Smith had to say about her, and I promise you, tuned in the game against Arizona. This is how you grow the game, people, but for whatever reason, whatever personal reason, people don't want to see Paige succeed. There are a lot of reasons behind that. I'm not going to get into all of them, but there are a lot of reasons behind that. What this video is all about is getting some people, maybe who are on that side of the boat, regarding Paige and UConn, to understand that this is bigger than Paige and UConn. It's going to mean so much more if this works. Unfortunately, UConn and Paige losing to Arizona the way that they did was not favorable. It was a step back for what people like me were hoping for. Paige not making the final, UConn not being in the final, especially against South Carolina, is bad for women's basketball. Just simple reality. The numbers will reflect that in the final. Even South Carolina by themselves have more star power than both Stanford and Arizona do. And again, Aari McDonald is a fantastic player, but that's her senior year right now. She hasn't had the following, she hasn't built the viewers. People want to say, well, she didn't build that following because they didn't promote her. Not really. How many mixtapes of Aari McDonald have multiple millions of views on YouTube? They are not going to put the same stock towards promoting somebody who doesn't have the following. The way in which you acquire the following is irrelevant. Like, you could have a rapping career on the side and play basketball. You could have a live stream career on the side and play basketball. You could be from a famous family like the Ball brothers, play basketball. You generate viewers, you have a fan base, you have a reach, and they're going to promote you. Do you have that reach? Do you have that following? Paige came into college with that following. People fail to understand this. Paige didn't gain that following through college promoting her. Paige built that fan base through her mixtapes, which means that Paige built that following through her game, and then Slam in her final year helped with how much they covered her. But Slam wouldn't have done that if Paige wasn't already that star which attracted viewers with her game. So this is a long, I'm rambling a lot, and I didn't write anything down before this video. Perhaps I should have. I just, opened the mic and started talking. But I just get pissed off sometimes with some of the things that I read from people who act like, oh, we want to support, we want the women's game to grow, as long as it's not the people that we don't like growing the game. There are people who just don't like UConn and they hate on UConn. No matter if Paige is helping the game grow, they just don't like UConn and they hate on UConn and their players and they don't want to see them win. They have their own agendas. It's all personal agendas at the end of the day. There are some people who dislike Paige for whatever their personal reason is, and they don't want her to be the one that is growing the game. They would rather their favorite player get that same attention. If they did, they wouldn't complain that she was getting all that attention because it's their favorite player and they support that player. So it's all biases at the end of the day. The same people who complain about ESPN and college having a bias have their own biases. So if you've taken anything from this 30-minute rant, the play here is much bigger than just promoting Paige. The play here is women's basketball has, at this moment, a star that they never really had before. Women's basketball has never had this before. They never had a player with this type of following. They never had a player with this type of leverage. If Paige succeeds, women's basketball will grow. Hopefully, Paige is just the start of players with this type of following coming up from high school, going into college. And you already know Azifat, who followed a very similar trajectory to Paige. She is also generating a media followership. It might not be as big as a Paige, but it is something. It's a following that she has from high school that will carry over to college. We're seeing some massive changes, some things that weren't there before, and that's what it's all about. Please try to understand that. Don't tear these people down. Don't tear these women down who are trying to change the game. We love the legends, we love the Maya Moores, we love the Diana Taurassis, but it's time for this new generation to actually take women's basketball to the next level. And if you're truly about helping that happen, understand how that is going to happen, and the steps need to be made that you might not like, but they need to be made. And please keep that in mind. It's not about parity, it's about star power. It's been Megatobins. Hope you enjoyed the video.